Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from the healthyamerican.org. We are going to talk about your questions and I'm going to give you my answers. Many of you have made comments here on this channel or on other channels, or you have sent an email to my assistant, and that email address is support@thehealthyamerican.org. And I wanted to just directly answer some of these questions. So I made a whole lister on my phone, and I'm going to answer questions such as, why do you use a virtual background? Why do you use a filter? Why did you change your appearance? Why do you sit so close to the screen? Why do you bring a sponsor message to the beginning, at the beginning of your videos instead of at the end? Why do you delete comments? Why aren't you on Facebook? Why don't you talk about XYZ? And why do you talk about ABC? Why don't you interview so-and-so? Why do you have an attorney instead of doing your case on your own? And why are you still in California? These are the questions I want to answer. And yes, first, I'm going to bring you a message from the sponsor. Let me answer that question right from the get-go. You've probably seen videos on YouTube where the presenters have a message from a sponsor. This is how we earn our living. I don't have a different job other than working for you, researching, bringing you information, breaking news, my analysis, my how-tos, my Peggy to the rescue. Sometimes I hope to bring a little levity to the situation and a little bit of humor so that we're not in the spin cycle, always seeking to bring you remedies and resources and solutions instead of the spin. So this takes up my entire day. I do this day in, day out, all day, every day, and it doesn't cost you a penny to watch these videos. In fact, if you're watching this as a rerun, there's a fast forward button, so you can completely skip over the sponsor message. Or if you're watching this live, I don't recommend it, but you could always mute the sound. So I'm not the only one in the content creator universe that brings sponsor messages. In fact, many top presenters do so because the sponsor sees value in me and they see value in you. They like my message and they want me to bring their message to you. Further, I use these products. In fact, the one I'm going to bring to you right now is Noble Gold Investments. They were probably my very first sponsor, and I've done several interviews with the CEO. I want to add value to your life. So by bringing you information about products and services and opportunities that I think you will benefit from, I would be in error if I didn't bring you these messages. If all I did was just come on, in my view, and just give you information without letting you know about other resources that you personally might be interested in. Now, I'm going to be bringing you a message about Noble Gold. You may not even have any money to invest. You may have thousands and thousands of dollars that you feel is melting and you want to have in a better vehicle. So it would be horrible of me to have this information and not share it. So that's why I have sponsors. The real question is, Peggy, why do you bring the sponsor message at the beginning of the video instead of at the end? Because that's what my contract calls for. It says that I need to bring you this message in the beginning, well, within the first few minutes. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm glad that I could answer that. I want to answer these questions that you have, these sincere things. And so let me just hop on over here. I'm going to get my screen all queued up. And here we go. It is noblegoldinvestments.com. And the message is, there's no denying it. Gold is hot right now. Prices are soaring and experts are predicting even more to come. Not long ago, gold reached its all-time high of $2,069 an ounce. And now it's inching ever closer to that number again. You know, Bank of America, one of the largest banks in the world, is saying that gold will rise further to over $2,200 later this year. That would be per ounce. So what, right? Well, gold is already a safety net for your hard-earned money. And now when the stock market is all over the place and the value of the dollar is uncertain, being safe really counts like never before. Noble Gold is offering you a 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin for any qualified IRA or old 401k one rollover. Terms apply. So here it is. It's a solid silver US mint issued coin celebrating our national parks. And you will get this free for every qualifying precious metals IRA or 401k rollover. So you cannot go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. It's 877-646-5347. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Friends, I have silver, I have gold. I don't like to show on screen everything that I have, but let's just say that I do have precious metals, and it may be something that you're interested in. So go to noblegoldinvestments.com. I'm going to be looking at your comments today in the live stream. I want to thank the moderators for being on board. I want to thank you for being on board. I realize that this audience is made up of healthy Americans that have been with me from the beginning. Let me know in a comment below when you first started watching my videos. And then there are others that stumble upon my videos because they were offered up by YouTube, which rarely happens because I'm shadow banned. Shadow banned means I'm here on YouTube, but my videos are not promoted to anyone. You don't get your notifications of when I go live, which by the way is 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So just show up here and we have our get-togethers. And this reminds me of another question that I'll get to in a moment. Some of you are asking why I delete your comments. Well, I'm going to answer that because I don't delete your comments unless they're absolutely vulgar and it's a troll or something like that. So let's go back to the list, and I'm glad that I could clear that up. And I know that there are some new healthy Americans, which is why I thought today was a perfect day to do a roundup of all these questions. So I'm so glad that you're on board. Drop a question for me in the live chat. I can't do it if this is a replay, of course, but actually I can compile those questions for a future broadcast. I think this is really interesting. I always would like to know more about different YouTubers and their background and so forth. So let me just start with that. My background is in education. I have been a teacher at the university and college level for my entire career, which is 30 years and counting. I was first a teacher of swimming lessons when I was, believe it or not, 15 years old. You used to be able to work back then in the days when we were much more free. And I absolutely loved it. I believe it's a God-given gift to be able to teach and encourage and inspire and empower people from I had 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds all the way to 95-year-olds in my swim classes, and I absolutely loved it. I developed the ability to encourage people, to see their potential, and to kind of cut through the clutter. I actually improved on a lot of the Red Cross skills that I was taught for teaching swimming because I found a better way. And I found, in my view, and I can talk about that in another video, but I've always been a teacher. I love teaching. I love researching. So my background is as the director of teacher education programs at the University of California, Irvine. And this is back in the day. So I left that job back in the early 2000s after having worked there for many years. And then I went into my entrepreneurial businesses, and I was a business consultant working for all sorts of giant companies in California and overseas, where I would do my business English classes, helping people express themselves more clearly in email. Email was just coming on the scenes, believe it or not, when I started that business, and helping people with their presentation skills. For those that were non-native English speakers, I helped them with their accents. I also helped companies understand different cultures because I've lived overseas. I have a bachelor's degree in political science, so I'm very interested in politics and the law and society and how they function, different political systems. It just is fascinating to me. I can't tell you why. Some people are fascinated by automotive engines and orchids and fill in the blank. I happen to be fascinated by politics and political systems, which is ironic because I don't talk about politics that much on this channel, and I will share why in just a moment. Then I went on and I got a master's degree in international policy and law, learning again about different political systems. I am fluent in Arabic, I'm fluent in French, I understand Spanish, and of course I know a little bit of English. I've lived in countries around the world, most notably, maybe not around the world, but most notably Morocco. I lived in France for a short period of time. I've traveled all over the world, again, because I'm fascinated by different cultures, languages, history, and then learning from that, applying that, going ahead, so that we learn from how things didn't work in different countries, as history shows us. So I also, over the last 20 years or so, my area of focus was teaching And I've always been connected to the community college and universities and doing a lot of consulting where I would teach teachers how to teach. That's my specialty. And then I got into health and fitness and I became a wellness expert, teaching people how to elevate their physical, their mental, their emotional health so that they could live life more fully and just be who they were made to be. So I can't stand to see people struggle. I can't stand to see people snookered, hoodwinked, and bamboozled. It absolutely drives me crazy. I've always been for the underdog, and I've always been for dogs and cats. I've been in animal rescue since I was in my teens. I used to volunteer at the animal shelter. Then I did classes and educational events at different animal shelters. In the last several years, I've done a lot with fundraising and networking and getting animals adopted. I've fostered animals on my own. I've had a household of 5 animals at one time, and they've come and gone over the years as they've passed away, and we've added new, and that I've rescued. So a lot in animal rescue as well. Why? Because I can't stand to see the suffering. I'm always in favor of the underdog. So in my health and wellness experience, I'm not a certified, well, I'm a certified nutritionist and not physical therapist, but personal trainer. And I've done a lot with kind of the mind body connection, how to overcome self-sabotage, how to move ahead on your goals, how to be as fit as you like, how to get a better night's sleep, how not to get duped by all of the hoopla that's out there telling you that you need to take a pill in order to be healthy and so forth. So I've spoken about that for a long, long time. I was the featured health and wellness expert for the ABC national radio show, or ABC network. And I was on a national radio show that I had like 3-minute spots, 2 to 3 minute spots where I would talk about why not to have those CFL light bulbs in your home and why children should be aware of that. It wasn't cooties back then, but it was for the HPV. And I would talk about that. And I would talk about getting a good night's sleep and how to read the label. Friends, the reason I'm telling you this is to let you know about my background in politics, my background in health. And I've always been sounding the alarm. I was actually on a TV show for a few years called America Now, and I was the health and wellness expert there. It was called a magazine show, and it was pretty funny because I don't even watch TV. I don't even have a TV. Well, I have a TV box, but it's not connected to the internet or anything or cable or what have you. It's if, maybe in a blue moon, watch a video or something. So I wanted to be the voice of reason. I wanted to add positive value to people's lives. And in my segments on that America Now show, I would talk about things like help. And again, I'm not a doctor, but I would talk about natural remedies for getting off some of these pharmaceutical drugs, for feeling better, for getting a better night's sleep without having to pop a pill. So this has been something that's been in my background for over 20 years. I didn't just arrive on the scene when the cooties hit. However, when the cooties hit, I was dismissed from 2 of my part-time teaching jobs. They basically just closed the doors. And when they were reopening, they said, oh gosh, we don't have a place for you. Too bad, because they had caught wind of all of the work that I was doing. So that is my background. I started the Healthy American in 2020 in response to all of this hogwash, educating people on their rights and the laws that protect them. And then, just like you, being flabbergasted at how these laws were continually broken, not only by the government, not only by your employer, not only by the store clerk at the grocery store, and the flight attendants and all of that, but even by the courts. The courts themselves are violating the law. And I know that firsthand because of the lawsuit that I'm involved in. So that's my background. Some of you were asking me, Peggy, why did you start this? Where did you come from? And I've been around. And I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to share with you and encourage you to stand up for yourself. I have a second channel. It's called Living Swell. I have a link for you in the description box below. Friends, if you're just hopping on and you're like, what's going on here? You can always click the description box and you'll see how to email me. You'll see links to programs that I have. You'll see links to other channels, including my husband's. So there's a lot of information. There is a snail mail address where you can send me your cards and letters, and I'm so grateful for that. All right, let's get back to more of your questions. Why do you use a virtual background? Let me know in a comment below why you think I use a virtual background. This happens to be one of my favorites. And there are several that I choose from, and I have used virtual backgrounds over the last few years. And sometimes the lighting where I am is better in a virtual background, because instead of the artificial light that I'm using here, catching whatever light might be coming out of a window or the, just overhead light or whatever, this makes, in my view, a cleaner appearance with the light. That's just kind of a side one. The main one is it's for my privacy. Now, in the early days, you may have seen me in all sorts of different, places. And, I've visited friends and family, and sometimes I had one little corner, and then I would just turn the camera around and you'd see a different little corner. But as the years have gone by, and on the advice of people that want to help keep me safe, they have, and I have agreed that using a virtual background right now during this phase is the way to go. All right. It's just less intrusive. And sadly, you never know who wants to try to poke their nose around where it doesn't belong. I'll just put it that way. So I like the virtual background. It should not distract from the message. And if it does, you can just turn off the video and listen to the audio, listen to it like a podcast. A lot of people do that. They'll listen to my videos as they're driving. They don't even see what I'm looking like or what the background looks like. They're just listening to the video, to the audio. All right. Why do you use a filter? Friends, I have a camera that's on my computer. I do not have a high definition. I don't have a $300 camera, $3,000 camera like a lot of the podcasters do. You can tell that they have a camera because they've got their computer over here. They're looking at you, and then they're looking at their computer. My camera is my computer. And so that's the quality of the camera. Also, and this is something that I found for myself, because as I'm filming, I think I look crystal clear. I mean, I can see all the little hairs in my eyebrows and every little whatever. I can see this very clearly. When YouTube not downloads it, but when they do the replay, they can choose to either serve up to you a low quality or a high quality. You yourself get to choose on your screen or on your device whether you want to have it played back in standard definition or high definition. I believe that's what someone told me. So check your playback selections on your device, and maybe your device is not giving the, I don't know what it would be, bandwidth or something in order to have that video play at a higher level. But number one, I just don't have a high quality camera, and I doubt I'm going to. I've fiddled around with a couple of them, and I did not care for the quality. They used a larger portion of the room and a smaller, I was not framed in it very well. Also, it had a motion detector. So every time I went like this, the camera would zoom in and out. It kind of made me seasick. I've tried 3 different cameras, and I actually didn't like them. So that's the answer to that. And again, if you would prefer to just listen to my voice, then you don't have to worry about the visuals. A few of you were asking over the last year or so, why did you change your appearance? Well, I like my appearance, and I like what I've done with my appearance. And if you would like the full blown behind the scenes, exactly, it'll take 3 hours for me to tell you, because I told you in a 3-hour class, and that 3-hour class is called Mind Body Makeover. Let me know in a comment if you took that. And if you haven't, what in the non-spinning world, take that class. It is a way that you can support me. I go into a lot of personal information about how I have been able to persevere over the last few years, about how in the first year I was running myself ragged, and I realized that staying up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and doing all of this work was actually not going to serve you or my purpose, because my goal is to spread God's truth and his light and to help people live in reality and find remedies and resources. That's my purpose for being. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to do that if I ran myself ragged. So in my earlier broadcast, you'll see that I had short hair, and that's the main change, is my hair is different and my makeup's a little different. And I tell you every single thing. I'm talking about the details, the brand names, and all of that. So if you're interested, it may not be the mainstream audience here is interested in that, but go to the Mind Body Makeover and you will get all of the information. The reason why I wanted to change my appearance is I wanted a clean break from that first year that was so traumatic. it was just, I mean, I think of PTSD, I feel PTSD when I think back to all of the harms that were perpetrated upon us, all of the hogwashing and the gaslighting and the twisting of reality. It literally turns my stomach. I mean, I could go into a depressive spiral if I started to think about it. And I was associating my appearance, including my clothing, with, although I still have a few favorite pieces of clothes, but I was associating what I looked like with that period of time. And I wanted to make a very distinctive break. Like, this is a new me, this is a new time, this is who I am, this is how I am. If you like that kind of content about standing in your power, about not letting others push you around, about you not being a people pleaser, you've got to watch my videos over at Living Swell. In fact, next week, for a special occasion, next Friday, which will be, let me grab the date right there. I'm going to have a special, that will be the 26th of May. And I am going to have a special broadcast for you, which is a replay of one of my favorite Living Swell topics. And you'll get a taste of what it is that I teach there, although it does apply to all of my Healthy Americans on this channel as well. So you'll get a little sneak peek of that next Friday, and I hope that you will tune in. So some person, and more than one, said, why do you sit so close to the camera? Why do you sit so close to the camera? Well, my vision is not 100%. And when I am looking for links and websites and I'm reading from my notes, I have to sit about this close. Otherwise, I won't be able to read it. And I am hoping to hang on to the vision that I have. I've had several eye surgeries. It appears that I will be scheduled for at least one, maybe two more coming up, to make sure that I can restore my vision, preserve my vision, maintain my vision. So I've had a complete retinal detachment, which means I was blind in my left eye for, oh gosh, several months as that was being treated and healed. And then my other eye had retinal tears that had to be lasered. And the doctor said, there's nothing that you did to cause it. There's nothing that could have prevented it. It is just happens to some people. What I saw at the doctor's office was a lot of young people having retinal problems. And I do believe that it's caused from the amount of time I'm in front of the computer, the bright lights, my phone, and then all of those horrible headlights on the cars. I'll be doing a video maybe in a couple of weeks from now about those horrible headlights that literally are blinding. So I think that it was my exposure to all of this unnatural blue light that accelerated the deterioration of my retina. But the reason why I sit close is because it's difficult for me to see. All right, hope that clears that up. And for some of you who are saying, Peggy, I can't believe you sent out a newsletter with these errors. Friends, sometimes I don't see the error. I literally don't see it. It and in and him and them. If I'm reading it, I literally do not see and catch that. And I do have an assistant, but for me, I would much rather get the message out, even with a couple of typos, than to not get the message out. So that's the way I look at it. You might see it differently, but that's how I see it. And it's my newsletter, so that's how I send it out. And ideally, you are able to rise above and go beyond any of those errors, whether grammatical errors or little typos or so forth. Okay, the next one. Why do you delete comments? Okay. Generally speaking, I don't delete comments. YouTube deletes comments. YouTube will delete comments, especially those that contain a word that starts with an H, ends with an X, and in between there's an O and an A. And I know that because I've had videos deleted, my own videos deleted and given a strike on this channel, just uttering that word. I think there are some, like the president, that starts with a T. I also think that when you leave a comment about that, for some reason, those seem to disappear as well. I personally do not sit there and go through the comments to try to delete them. That's not, I am in favor of hearing what you have to say. However, if there is a comment that is completely off base or, and I don't mind like negative comments or challenging comments, anything like that. But if there is something that's actually vulgar, I'm not going to allow that to stand. I actually don't care for profanity. I don't think you've ever heard me. In fact, you've never heard me curse because I don't. I may have said, oh, this is freaking ridiculous once. And maybe I said crap. Oh, I don't even like to say that word. But I do not deal in that kind of language. And I will not have that here in my milieu because this is my channel, my living room, and you are my invited guest. So when it comes to things like that, or specific hatred toward another person, like if there is a comment that's bullying someone else, that's not going to stand. Now, I'm not saying you lovely, healthy Americans are doing it, because you're not. I'm talking about somebody that just stops by. And in the old days, there would be trolls that would be sent out after me, especially when I was speaking about breathing oxygen. I had the Soros people from Media Matters and all of that on Reddit, and they just came in the thousands. It's kind of funny because my view count went way up on YouTube because they were all commenting, but I had to block comments on that video. And I just blocked the comments in general on that video because it was out of hand. I can't go through and delete every hateful, vile, vulgar. Why would I want you to be exposed to that? You have to keep your vessel pristine. You've got to really protect what comes in. That's why I don't even like to expose you to horrible images, and I'll give a warning if I'm going to be talking about something sensitive like that, because I don't want to be exposed to it. So if you say, oh, I think Elon Musk should be the next president, I'm not going to delete that. Why would I do that? I'll let it stand so everybody else can give you their perspective on your perspective. In fact, friends, this is what I love about my healthy Americans. I would say by and large, those that are actual healthy Americans, you are cordial. You're able to express different views without like battling somebody. That doesn't serve anything. You ask questions like, well, tell me more. How did you come to that conclusion? What evidence is your position based on? I mean, those are the questions that we ask in critical thinking. We don't just say you're wrong. No, you say, well, here's where I came up with this, and this is what it's based on. And I hope everyone that's listening will think about that in their positions. Where did they come up with it? Did they just hear it on a YouTube channel and now they're parroting it? Or did they actually read into it? Did they learn about it? Did they dig deeper? That's how I draw my conclusions. So hope we're clear on the comments. Now, I'm talking about YouTube. I am not personally am on Telegram. I have a Telegram channel that I can't even have access to because of some weird administrative glitch. So as a result, there's all sorts of trolls on Telegram on my channel. I can't even delete them, but I'm not there. But my videos are there just really as a backup, but I am never there. Same thing with Facebook. In the beginning of all of this hogwash, I found it such like a dive bar. People were just there to fight and ridicule and excoriate. And why would I do that? The Bible says, don't cast your pearls before swine. So after like the first year, I sort of toughed it out. And then it's like, you know what, forget it. Also, Facebook shadow banned me. I used to have, I don't know, 30,000 views on a video. Now I have like 30. And that's a large number. So why would I even do that? Why would I feed that beast? I'm not interested. Now, I do have a channel on Instagram, and by and large, your experience may be different. My experience is that Instagram is a lot more cordial, that people are more supportive, they're more positive. And I have not had the type of hate that I've experienced on Telegram and on Facebook and on BitChute. So Instagram is there if you're interested in that. I do a couple, that's a good place to put memes and short little things, but this is where I live. YouTube is my major platform, and also Substack. Substack is a free subscription where you can get a detailed analysis on a lot of the topics that I cover here, not every single topic. The Substack comes out once a week, maybe twice a week. Sometimes I have a guest author, and it's an opportunity to do some deep dives, and I will include links and more of my thinking and analysis in a written format in case you want to learn in that manner rather than just kind of the verbal interaction. So that is my number 2 real go-to. And then I have a newsletter. And many of you have said, Peggy, I didn't get the information. I didn't know you weren't going to be there. It's like, well, I send it all out on the newsletter. And I mentioned the newsletter probably in a lot of my videos, and it's linked in the description box below. So if you want to know where I am, where I'm not, and what's coming up, then get on the newsletter. That's how you can stay informed. And if you don't want to subscribe to the newsletter, just go to the website, click on the tab that says newsletter, and then click on the archives, and you can read them all online without ever having to subscribe. So there's something for everyone. I want to finish off this thing about deleting comments, talking to you about BitChute. BitChute is a place that has been largely unregulated. Interestingly, I just heard from a lovely, healthy American who said, Peggy, I'm actually working on the coding for a better interaction with the comments. Now, I don't know what that means exactly, but I'm grateful for that comment. But in the meantime, I have asked my assistant to just turn off the commenting section on BitChute, because again, it's so difficult to stay on top of the trolls. And by troll, I mean not somebody that's differing with me in opinion. You need to understand the difference. A troll is someone who comes on and is vulgar and vile and hateful toward me, toward people in the audience, toward whatever topic I'm discussing. They're not able to have an emotionally mature discussion. I'm not there to educate them on how to be emotionally mature. That happens over at the Living Swell channel. So it's just easier to not have the comments. Now, I don't have a whole staff of people that, like some YouTubers do, that have the very slick, polished, you know, all the stuff, the graphics and everything. It's me. I mean, I do these videos, I upload them, all of that. And I have my lovely assistant who helps me with the administrative things, but we're not able to keep track of all of these different social media commenting sections. So if indeed people calm down over at BitChute, I'd be happy to open up the comments, but the purpose of my videos over there is as a backup to YouTube. I'd rather people come to YouTube because this is where all the action is, right? I mean, this is where all the action is. So same thing with Rumble. I have videos on Rumble as a backup channel. I personally am not there answering your comments. So if you want your comments and questions answered, you are invited to a monthly private Q&A webinar. I actually answer your questions that you type in. And this is for those of you that have supported me financially. And we do that once a month. This one is next one is going to be June 3rd. It's at 4 p.m. Pacific. It's on a Saturday. In the coming months, we might change the day because I know some of you have asked maybe for a different time. It's all recorded. They're all recorded for you so you can watch again. And this is a way to thank those of you that have supported me either through a financial donation, for example, toward my legal fund. I'm still paying off the bills for that. Next week, I will have a video for you with a deep dive update on that. My friend Renette interviews me about the lawsuit, so you'll hear about that on Monday. Tuesday, I've got an interview with Dane Wigington. Many of you asked me about that, and there are lots of opinions about Dane Wigington. I think you need to see this video. He came across as very sincere. He's very knowledgeable in the area. He was one of the first people that really compiled the information. We don't see eye to eye on everything. I told him that even in the video, and that's fine. That's where you have a cordial discussion, and you'll see an example of how we do that. So that's coming up. And the point that I wanted to make is that for those of you that have supported my lawsuit, or if you are a paid subscriber to Substack, all content is free for everyone. I want you to understand, a paid subscriber doesn't get a special Substack, but it's your way of thanking me for the effort and time, energy, and resources that I put into creating those. So that's a way that you also can be on these free, well, it's a gift from me to you, these private Q&A webinars every month. And if you're a subscriber to peggyhall.tv, so those are the ways you can do that. So I think we're clear on the comments. I will say that the moderators now, from time to time, they will delete a comment if it falls under that same category, if it's vulgar, if it is going to put this channel at risk of getting a strike. If we have vulgar comments and hate-filled messaging and a lot of outgoing links and all of that, or, oh, how to date girls, click here, those messages aren't going to stay. So yes, they have my approval to delete those. All right. In the stream, because we need to keep that stream flowing. All right. Another question. We have a couple more. Why don't you interview this person? Why don't you interview that person? What? Well, I am interviewing people. Not everybody wants to be interviewed. And some people, in my view, may not be able to come onto this platform and speak without YouTube taking down the video. So it's a little bit tricky to be able to speak. As I speak freely, I tell you exactly how I feel. I have my healthy Americanisms, some of you call them Peggyisms, where I talk about, the hogwash and the cooties cocktail and human pincushion and the public serpents and what in the non-spinning world and marching this all the way to heaven. And I've coined a lot of these phrases, and it's not just because of the censorship to outwit the nitwits, but I think it's just our own language and it's fun and it's my trademark. So sometimes there are people that I have interviewed and I realized I couldn't air their interview on this channel. Also, I think that, and you have, I don't think, but you have told me, many of you, that you want to hear from me on this channel. And if you wanted to hear from this person and that person, you'd go to their channel to hear from them. So I do interview some people. Some people I don't think it's a match. And it goes along with another comment. Why don't you talk about what's in the cocktail? Okay. Why do you want me to talk about what's in the cocktail? If it had Hershey's chocolate syrup, would you take it? If it was safe and effective, would you take it? There are people out there trying to create safe cocktails. Is that really the issue? Is the issue that we're facing, is it remotely related to cocktails? Not at all. It's related to your freedom, your sovereignty, your individual liberty. Fill in the blank. It could be that they want everybody to wear yellow shoes. It doesn't matter what the driver is. Those are all distractions from what I believe to be the most important point in all of this is truth. So I don't care if those cocktails work. I don't care if they want you to take 1 or 21 or 2001. Now, I have spoken about the sad state of affairs with shots for tots, where newborns are being pricked and poked and having blood taken and getting, in my view, unnecessary medical attention. And I've spoken out about that to help inform parents that may not know. But that has it's not related in my mind. My message is not related to what is in or isn't in the cocktail. I have not covered the dangerous lot numbers, or I have had some videos about the SADs and how sad it is for the SADs. And again, that's to bring awareness. I've talked about why people get sick, but this is more to answer your questions that you're asking me. I am not going to go down that scientific realm, if it is even is science. I'm not going to go down that medical realm. There are others that speak about it that actually are very well versed in that. So I talk about what my expertise is, and that is reading the law, understanding your rights, voicing your rights, and all the other ones that talked about what's in the cocktail and all of that. I would like to know where, and maybe they have them, maybe I didn't see it. Where are all of their handouts that educated people on how to avoid taking that? Where are all of their classes and free educational videos and documents and evidence and how-tos for standing up against it? There are very few people teaching you how to stand up against that. Instead, they're putting you in the spin cycle. The same thing with all the who stuff, the who, what, where, when, why, now. I've spoken on that. I've got videos on that, friends. The question is, how do you maintain your individual liberty in the midst of all of the hogwashers? Not just pointing your finger at the next one, like the whack-a-mole, and keeping the adrenaline high and the cortisol. I don't operate that way. So no, there are a lot of things that I'm not going to talk about because it's not what my platform is about. On a very rare occasion, I have talked about voting. I have even had candidates on this show, not because I was in favor of one candidate or the other, but because I wanted you to be inspired by people standing up and taking action, and not just complaining about the state of affairs, but actually running for office. And it's possible that many of them never even were elected, but I found their stories very inspiring. And that's why I brought those people on. You may ask me also, Peggy, why do you vote? Well, I vote because not voting is exactly what the hogwashers want. Do I think that it's every vote is counted? No. Do I think that there's corruption? Absolutely. I thought there was corruption when I was 18 years old. I was questioning whether or not I should even do it. But I do it because I want to do that. I don't want to sit on the sofa, complain about things. And in the most local of elections, it makes a difference. There are plenty of clear thinking, rational, conservative people that are now on school boards, water districts, maybe even on your own HOA. So the more local that you can be involved, I think it's important that we do so. There are many people talking about elections. Again, I'm not talking about voting. I'm not talking about January 6th. I'm not talking about any of that. There are others that is their position. That's their platform. You'll hear me talk about that once in a while. usually as a critical thinking exercise to perhaps expose a topic or a concept that I see a lot of people being snookered by. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, let's dig deeper here. So I personally do vote. I like to vote. I like to see the other people that are voting. Where I live, it's usually immigrants that are working the polls, and I love to have conversations with them. They tell me that they came to this country because they wanted to have the freedom to vote for an elected representative. There are public servants, it's hard for me to say that now, that do serve our needs. And of course, there are a lot of the public servants as well. But I am not going to give up, give in, or give over my right to vote. So that's my answer on that one. All right, last one here that came in earlier, actually last two. Okay. Why do you have an attorney doing your case instead of doing it on your own? When this all started, I didn't know that I could do it on my own. Think back to 2020 when we were being snookered and bamboozled and hoodwinked and hogwashed and gaslighted and all of that. And many of us were kind of scurrying around. What can I do? Who do I write? Do I write to the sheriff? Do I go to City Hall? Can I get the cop to arrest the governor? I mean, people didn't know what to do, including me. I had to learn all of this. Now, thank you, Lord, I was able to learn it quickly and master it and then share it with others and draw on some of my expertise from my background in political science and international law and policies and all of that. So I was able to decipher a lot of this. But in the beginning, I think many of us wanted something done quickly. And when I met my attorney at the Orange County Board of Supervisors, and we were brainstorming, like, what can we do? They're not listening to us. And I said, I want to do a writ of mandate. I want to petition the court to tell them to knock it off and to do their job. And she said, well, I will write that up for you or with you. And so that's how it started. It was very just kind of natural and organic. I wasn't making phone calls to attorneys. I thought this would be open and shut. It should have been open and shut. It's like sending in your exemption to your employer. It should be approved immediately, but we know now that we're dealing with hogwashers. Along the way, I did start to educate myself through a course called How to Win in Court. And that is on my website under the tab that says How to Win in Court. And this was written by a retired attorney, Dr. Graves, and he's been on my channel before, and I'll bring him back again. We don't see eye to eye on everything either, friends. Do you see eye to eye with every single person in your life? I certainly don't, but I do see value in his message and in the teachings that he has in this course. It's basically like getting a law school degree in a weekend. And I did not write the course. It is on my website. If you buy it through clicking on my website, I get a small commission. And there have been a handful of people that have gone through the course. I have gone through the course. I haven't completed it, but I'm going through the course. But even in the very beginning, I learned information that was vital for my case. I learned how to be more fluent in speaking with my attorney. So I learned that, for example, finding an appellate court ruling in your same jurisdiction on a similar topic, and you bring that in as evidence to your judge, he cannot refute it because that appellate court ruling is basically considered case law or common law. I believe I would call it case law. So they would not be able to rule against that in most cases. So that right there was a very important piece of information. I could not find a similar ruling by an appellate court in the jurisdiction, but the information was extremely helpful. Learning about evidence, what can be admitted, what can't. So many things there in that course. So even though I do have representation in this, I still am relying on that course, How to Win in Court. If I had it to do all over again, I probably would represent myself. I want to say some things to that judge, and I literally am barred. I'm using that word on purpose. And I know many of you are going to be talking about the bar, and I will have seen those comments before. The fact of the matter is, I have engaged legal representation to go before me to the court to argue this. Now, the fact is, it never should have gotten to any of this. It should have been as simple as let's say there's a person that is being threatened by another and they go and get a restraining order. In most cases, that happens like in less than 24 hours. It doesn't go on for weeks and months and years now, as is my case. You can think of this as a type of restraining order, telling the county to stop breaking the law. But because it's the county, and because the judges work for the county, and they are protecting the county interest, I'll just put it that way, they have pulled out every single slimy tactic of delay and diversion and distraction, appointing new judges, taking off other ones, saying, oh, I wasn't ready, I didn't read the case, you'll have to come back. Oh, well, you know what, I'm going to retire. Oh, I've done many videos on this. Watch my video next Monday if you want a deeper dive. So that is why I have representation. I didn't know about representing myself. It was happening at a breakneck speed. Now I know. And I hope to God that I never have to go to a courtroom again. Those of you that have been to court, that have had any kind of legal dealings, you probably know what I'm talking about. This didn't need to go that way at all. There should have never been any court appearance. There should have been a signed order by the judge saying, do your job. That's all we asked for. All right. And the judge, actually the first judge ruled and said they had to do that. And the county never did it. And there's no enforcement. So we're trying to go on for an appeal now to have a higher court force this. It costs tens of thousands of dollars. Many of you have supported me. I've talked about that. I will bring you information because the people that I'm partnering with are going to be, and I'll be doing fundraising for the appeal with them. And anyhow, that's the story on that. Many more details coming for you Monday. Last question that I compiled for you. Why are you still in California? I have a video called Why Am I Still in California? And let me tell you that I'm a lifelong Californian. California will always be my home, perhaps my spiritual home, maybe not always my physical home, my geographic home, but it's likely that I always will have a home in California. I will have a foothold there. It is my home. And I am not giving up on California. I am never giving up on California. I'm never giving up on you. I'm never giving up on freedom. I'm never giving up on truth. I'm never giving up on reality. This is what I am here for. You are here at this time in life to stand up for what is right. Those of you that have found freedom in other states, those of you that got as far away from California as you could, you never looked back, you said, good riddance, you're living a life of freedom and accomplishment and productivity and enjoyment. I say kudos to you. You don't need to stay in a burning house to make your point. Look at all of the refugees that are in our country. And I don't know if that's the right word. What I mean to say is immigrants. How many people have left their countries to come to the United States? Do you point at them and say, why did you leave Cuba? Why did you leave Russia? Why did you leave Czechoslovakia? Why did you leave, or now currently the Czech Republic? Why did you leave Senegal? Why did you leave Ethiopia? Are you saying that to people? No, because they wanted to come for a better life. They believed that they could not have an impact where they were, or that their effort could be better exerted from a different place. So even in battles and wars and all of that, my understanding is that the generals and the captains and all, they're not on the front lines. They are actually outside of the heat of the battle so that they can be more clear-minded. They're not like constantly under threat where they can't think clearly, they can't strategize and formulate plans. Their life is at risk at any moment. They're not there. Sadly, the others are on the front lines, and I don't even believe in wars, and we can have a conversation about that topic another day. I think there's a lot of hidden agendas behind that and not always for the good purposes we were told. But that's an aside. The point is that you can fight from wherever you are. I have lovely, healthy Americans. In the early days, like in the summer of 2020, they're like, I'm out of here. They moved to Ohio. Actually, I meant to say Idaho. They probably moved to Ohio as well. They moved to Idaho. Many moved to Arizona. Tennessee is a very popular place. Oklahoma, a lot of Californians have moved there. Florida, of course, Texas. Even more are moving to other states that we don't hear about as much, like Missouri and Iowa and Kansas. And the fact is, friends, you've sent me your photos. The hogwashers are at it in every state. There is the aerosol spraying in every state. There is the pushing for the gender side in every state. Luckily, many states are pushing back. So I believe that this evil and this tyranny and this oppression, it's not even a strong enough word for it. It's like a lava flow, and it is coming. And I don't believe that you can outrun it. However, if you believe that you are going to be better able to live your life, to be more free, to be more productive, to have more enjoyment, to not live in a constant state of anxiety, of in a hostile location, like why wouldn't you change if you have that opportunity? So I want to answer that question, because some of you have even written me letters and you've said, oh gosh, Peggy, I was thinking of moving to Indiana, but I felt like you would be disappointed in me. I'm not disappointed in anyone that has made a choice that they believe in and that they have reasons for. What bothers me is when people say, well, I had to, or we've talked about that as well. If you don't make those choices based on me, you make it based on you. You can fight, you can stand up wherever you are. I started to say I have healthy Americans in Idaho, in Oklahoma. They are still fighting for California. They are still staying up on these heinous bills, which, by the way, there are many of them. They are still petitioning our representatives in the state assembly. So I believe that Californians, but we're a special breed, I will say that. There are those people that are so tough that they are able to literally tough it out, that they can live in a hostile environment. Now, there are people, many of them with families and children, that have left for safety. And of course they should, if that's the right thing for them. The crime is getting out of sight. The homeless, I read somewhere like 30, how is it? Anyway, it's the most of the nation's homeless is in California. And it's very sad, and it's not being handled correctly. We have the highest gasoline taxes and the worst roads, and the gasoline taxes are supposed to pay for the improvement of the roads, and all they do is have constant destruction. I'm not going to call it construction because I don't see anything of value being made, and all these detours. And I believe that they are conditioning us to take this road because we told you to. You don't get to go on that road. There are freeways that have 10-mile long, they're called corridors, and there's no on-ramp or off-ramp, friends. You get on and you don't get off until they tell you to. And maybe they're going to close that off ramp and shuttle you right where they want. It's all in Riverside, in the Inland Empire, in Chino, in Diamond Bar, all of that area. And it's just getting worse, as I say. Worst is worse than worse. So there's so much there that is against. I feel like California is against its population. It's against it. Everywhere you turn, there's a hindrance. There's outrageous amounts of money to even run a business. There are strangulating regulations that have resulted in companies fleeing California. Those companies that are staying, don't kid yourself. They all have government tax breaks. Why should they get a tax break? And I don't, as a small business owner. They all have preferential treatment. Where's the equity and diversity and equality there? There's not. The hypocrisy is rampant. All right. The governor is despicable, vomit worthy, heinous. And I can see why people want to get as far away from that creature as possible. So the reasons for leaving California are just stupendous. They're incredible. The high cost of living, the high cost of gasoline, the high crime, the worst schools, the decimation of medical care because so many good people have left medicine because they wanted to keep their bodies pure. Now, there are many good reasons to stay in California. People have their families. They may not want to leave their families. They may not have the means to do so. It's expensive to move in many cases. They may have a job that they can't leave, so they're staying there for that. They may just want to stay in defiance, like, I'm not leaving and you're not going to make me, and I'll go down with the ship. So there's that mentality as well. You would not believe, I invite people to come to California because the intensity and the drive and the intelligence and the can-do attitude of people in California for overcoming this oppression is stunning. It's just outstanding. And I want everyone to know that's listening that California is a red state. California is and always has been conservative. What you are seeing on the media and in these big cities is just like what you're seeing in these woke TV commercials, making you think that, you know, 1 out of every 2 men dresses like a woman. It's just not the case. Okay, it's extremely well, that's topic for another day as well. Maybe it is more than that these days. If you ever watch the movies or sports or the transcasters, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the fact is, they're trying to promote that California is a blue state and woke, and it really isn't. It's a very fringe element in certain areas. So by and large, the Californians that you meet, they're tough, they're willing to fight, they are fighting, they're alert, they're awake, they're aware of what's going on, they are involved, and they're active. And I'm proud to call myself a Californian. I will finish by saying, God alone directs my life, all right? He is my source of protection, of peace, of direction, of inspiration, of wisdom, of ideas, of visions, of knowledge. So when I started The Healthy American, it was undeniable that it was by the prompting of my creator. I mean, I did not want to do this. I told my husband, I don't want any part of any of this. Wake me up when it's over. I am not participating. And he said, sweetheart, you are an educator. You've got to teach people what you know. You're just talking about it, but nobody's hearing it because they don't want to hear you on Facebook. And I felt I literally felt like the hand of God grabbed my arm and just like, pulled me forward. I got the heavenly push from behind to say, go, you do this. There's a Bible passage. Who is going to stand up for me, says the Lord, and send me, Lord, send me. So wherever he sends me, I will go. And there may be areas where he wants me to bring his light and shed his light of truth. My husband, Pastor David, does a weekly prayerful message on YouTube if you are in need of his prayerful counsel, and that's True Hope Tuesdays. That's the name of the YouTube channel. So that is where we are now. We were running a monthly beach church in San Clemente. God has called us into a period of rest and renewal. You can even hear my voice is a little hoarse. I was running myself ragged. I had severe nerve pain, which my holistic MD believed was brought on by stress, overworking, the lawsuit, and so forth. And until we hear from the Lord again to get that going, we are on hiatus. But you can get the prayer every week. You don't have to wait for once a month. You can get that weekly from Pastor David, and you can get encouragement from me daily. And if we do have an in-person event, we will let you know. You need to be on the newsletter to get that and make sure that you are up to date. So thank you, everybody. I did promise to take a look at your questions. I'm sure that chat has gone by super fast. So I think I'll have to do a part 2. And what I'll do is I will compile your questions and I will look at these and then answer them in a part 2, because this went a little long. And one of my goals is to keep these videos around 20 to 30 minutes so that they're a little bit more digestible. So I will take a look at those, and I will bring you another Q&A that will air next week. So hop on for that. Remember, I've got a couple of interviews for you Monday and Tuesday. I've got a special video for you Friday. So I'll probably do another Q&A with you on Wednesday. How does that sound? And then on Thursday, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you all about the hijinks over at the TSA. This is crazy. You have been sending me information about the facial recognition. When I did a little digging, you're not going to believe what I found out about the genders. Both of them, both of the two. You'll wait till you hear about this. I've got a little personal story to share with you. So keep you there and curious there. All right, friends, always appreciate you being on board. And let's see if there's anything that I can do real quick here. Peggy, do you think the government or EEOC via civil rights lawsuits will have a set number of payout to each person? No, I don't think there will be. I think it will be all individual. The EEOC does not normally bring these cases to court. The EEOC will tell the company that they are in violation and that they have to make amends, but the company does not have to follow it because the EEOC is not a court. What the EEOC does is investigate. And if there is something of what they would consider national interest, like Amtrak, they were going to do an investigation on that, then they themselves might bring that case. But normally they will tell you that you have a right to sue, but you have to find your own lawyer. My goal is that the EEOC is going to maintain the sacredness of our religious rights, because it's been so focused on gender and race and sexual harassment and turning a blind eye to religious discrimination. I know this, and I've done several videos about it, because in the EEOC's own trainings and conferences, there are all sorts of speakers on all the topics I just mentioned. And there was not even one speaker, there was one speaker about, I think about Judaism, but nothing for Christianity. They're trying to marginalize people, especially Christians. So I hope that this will be an opportunity for them to beef up their enforcement of that. Okay, let's see what else. Sheila says, thank you so much. You've given me so much courage to fight for my God-given rights. I'm so glad, Sheila. Okay. Thank you for all you've done. Your new look, style, background, time, clothing, sitting distance are all terrific and perfectly fine. Thank you. I think I will end on that note, but I want everyone to know that I do read your comments. I don't have time to respond to them, and I normally read them within 24 hours. So for those that are coming on and watching the video on another day and commenting, I just, it's not reasonable to think that I can keep up with all those comments, but I normally will look within the first 24 hours. So I hope that encourages you to be here live or within the first day that it airs. And then I am here Monday through Friday for you. It's my highlight. I am so blessed to have you as healthy Americans here. I tell you, I do kind of traipse around from time to time on other YouTube channels, and it's like, wow, you guys are awesome. You're polite, you're smart, you're savvy, you're supportive, you're sophisticated is the word that comes to mind. And I can't tell you what a joy that is for me. I don't want to play whack-a-mole trying to bat away the mosquitoes and the flies that are only trying to derail me. That happened a lot in the first couple of years. I think they've called off the dogs. I think they've actually just sort of put my channel sort of underground. Nobody really sees it. I'm frozen at my subscriber count. Do me a favor. Let's try to outwit the algorithm. Make sure that you are subscribed, and then hit that little bell notification. Maybe with, you know, more people in numbers doing that, we can kind of trigger the algorithm to like jumpstart or something. I don't go by numbers. What I go by is the impact, and I want to reach as many people as possible. So thank you for sharing the video, for talking about the channel, and for just being a support to me. The hogwashers are never going to get away with what they did before. I want you to know that. I want you to know that, whether it's related to 5G, some of you are asking me to talk about that, about the weather, about the next hogwashing, they'll never get away with it like they did before. In fact, they poked the hornet's nest, and we the people now have, many of us have awakened from the slumber, and we are stronger, we're more alert, we're more vigilant. And so they flubbed it big time. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. It's the Tennessee goodbye. I take a long time to say goodbye, don't I? But thank you so much for being on board. I really appreciate you. Big shout out to the moderators. They're here volunteering their time daily. And I know so many of you have formed relationships, friendships, and I know you appreciate them, and I sure do as well. All right. See you soon, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. And then I'll see you in those videos I mentioned coming up next week.